sense. All right. Well, welcome. Wapiti Live Q&A for March 27th. So looks like it's just going to be Greg and I having a one-on-one chat tonight. So I'll have to go back and look and see. I know the last couple of weeks there's been some errors with the emails going out, so I'll have to double check. It popped into mine this morning, so I figured everything was good and honky dory. So all right. So tonight we're actually going to talk about why bulls hang up. And really there's four instances where a bull will hang up. And the interesting thing is their body demeanor is different in each one. And what's kind of cool is by recognizing the body demeanor, you can kind of know what's going to happen next. So the first one is that bull's going to hang up at the point where he thinks he should be able to see the elk that's making that sound. And usually he stands like a statue and just stares. But the ears are constantly moving. And he'll kind of scan his eyes. He doesn't move a whole lot. He stands really, really still and just scans with his eyes and scans with his ears. Basically, what he's trying to do, he's trying to see that elk and hear that elk. Now, depending on the setup, he's going to do one of two things. If he doesn't see the elk or hear the elk, if he has the ability to circle downwind and still maintain eye contact of that spot, he's going to start moving downwind while still viewing and listening in that spot where he thinks that elk was that the sound came from. So this could get you a different shot opportunity. The only problem is eventually he's going to get downwind of you and he's going to smell you and the gig is up. The second thing he's going to do in this case is if he can't circle downwind, he's going to stand there for a while, then he's going to turn around. He's just going to walk back out on the same path that he came in. Now, it could be that maybe you didn't get a shot because he hung up a little farther out than what you were expecting, or maybe you're one-on-one and just it was outside of your effective range. What you can do at this point, let him turn around and walk out and just really, really listen. When you can't hear him again, make the elk sounds and then half moon up towards that hang up spot. And I mean, you might have to do this 2, 3, 4 times until you get close enough that when he comes, because he's going to come right back out to that same spot again. And so that's where, might be 2 or 3 times until you actually get up that now you're in effective shooting range. And it could be that, you were working this bull one-on-one, you're working towards him. Well, guess what? He's working towards you. And then all of a sudden you got to freeze and it's like, crap, this is not the optimum spot that I wanted to be in, which does happen quite a bit solo hunting. I mean, I've had this happen numerous times and patience is really, really key on this. So, okay, so that's number one. Number two, he's going to hang up because he saw you moving or caught your silhouette because you're caught out in the open. Elk know the human silhouette. They know that silhouette means danger. That's why we always talk about get set up in front of something that breaks up your silhouette, like a bush or a big tree or something. Now, most of the time, if he sees you, he's going to turn and bolt because he immediately recognizes it with danger. So, third, wind swirls and he smells you. He smells you again. He's going to whirl around and leave very fast.
That one is usually the quickest one.
Seeing you and smelling you are pretty much about the same. It's whirl and go.
I think I've seen them run faster or depart the area quicker after a smell versus after so much vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now the fourth, they realize that something is off in this area. So elk know their area. They know the bushes, they know the trees. It's just like you knowing where the shrubs are in your yard or where furniture is in your house. And they come walking in and then all of a sudden they just stop. And they're kind of tense. So body language when they come up and come in, the first scenario where they hold up and stop thinking they should see that elk, their body language is relaxed. They're really scanning and looking, but their body itself is relaxed. When they're coming in and they realize something's not right in their area, they'll pause and they'll be tense. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. So he may be at a weird angle for you. He knows something is up. He's kind of on guard. He's not sure. 9 times out of 10, this elk will turn to leave and he'll only go maybe 10 yards and then he'll stop and turn completely broadside and look back. So if he's coming in, maybe you did a slight movement that he picked up and man, he stops. He's not sure what you are. He just knows you're out of place. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, he's going to turn and get a little bit of distance and then he's going to turn. And they seem to always stop broadside. And so that's why when you're sitting there, if he's tense, as soon as he starts turning, draw. Because then that's gonna you don't necessarily have to make a cow sound, but you can. But drawing, just know that okay, he's gonna turn and go broadside. Now, wherever you sat there and you ranged your spot, so you know where your range distances are, and say he stopped at 30 yards. You pretty much know when he turns and starts to go and then he stops again, he's going to be at about that 40 to 45 yard. So just keep that in mind. But a lot of times you can get a closer shot, better shot. Because like I said, he may have came in and stopped and there was an odd angle. Maybe this arm's kind of up and kind of blocking, you're over on this side. But when he turns to go, man, then you get this nice broadside shot. The thing to remember though, he's already going to be on edge. So boom, the bow going off, they can drop a little bit. So usually aim just a little bit lower than what you normally would. So you still want to be, in the triangle, but maybe you're aiming for that little bottom point of the triangle. So that way when he drops, you're in double lung. Now, one of the things that can happen back with the first scenario sometimes, they can pause and hang, and sometimes they will actually walk even closer to you to get a little closer look. Well, maybe that elk fed off a little bit. Maybe, especially if you're in an area where there's bushes. Oh, well, maybe that elk, was right on the edge of this bush. Maybe now it's feeding on the backside of that bush, and they can come closer. This is one of the things that is a lot of new hunters. As soon as that elk comes in, we want to crack that shot off. But sometimes just a little bit of patience can actually end up getting you a better shot than that first opportunity. And it's tough to do. I mean, you did all this work. You have an elk that's within your effective shooting range. I mean, to me, it's one of those things that if he stops and he's at 40 yards, that's kind of my max effective range. I won't shoot past 40 on a first shot. A lot of times, that's where I will show a lot of patience and go, okay, because I know that if he doesn't see anything, there's a good chance he's going to turn and go out. I can call and move a little bit closer, or knowing that I have, if there's a collar back behind me, man, I'm going to show a lot of patience because I know he's going to get closer to me. So, because that collar could move back a little bit, which kind of pulls him a little bit closer to us also. But if I'm by myself, I'm going to show patience and go, okay, if he doesn't see it, he's going to turn and go out. I know I can call and move up closer to him and shorten that distance a little bit, knowing right where he's going to come in. I can half moon, so that way I can change kind of the shot angle and those different things. And maybe he stopped and there was something that was blocking. And by me changing the angle a little bit, now maybe I can kind of remove that a little bit. So, but those are the four cases of when a bull will hang up. So
I agree. I
you
agree.
agree?
Yeah.
You've experienced those?
Yes.
Yeah.
More so that they've seen me or smelled me, but
Yeah, it's yeah, that big six that was coming in last year when Brandon was calling, man, he was coming in perfect, but then he just stopped and sniffed the ground where our boot prints were just because we came up to the top of the ridge on the wrong angle. So, but that's hunting. So,
my
um,
what we see more with trying to get a bull to come in, you had answered it quite a while ago, is in the morning they're headed to bed
uh-huh.
and you may hear the elk, hear the bull, and you may be getting close. You just can't get them to come in. Well, they've already got a destination in mind, and they aren't going to change from that.
Getting them to turn around and come back is really, really tough. That's
Yeah,
that's where best case in that is just go quiet and try to pick a route that you can mirror them or get in front of them just a little bit, but be careful of the thermals.
right.
Anytime you can mirror. That's why a lot of times when following elk in the morning, I won't go up on the same ridge. If there's another ridge off to the side that I can work up that ridge in the timber and be protected, because I can move a lot faster and I don't have to worry about thermal switching. Because I know we're going to end up about the same point up here where those two ridges come together. And that's really my target area where I really want to work him anyways. Because once he gets to that point, he's generally going to start kind of calming down, getting ready for his bedding area. And I have a much greater window to work him there than in that travel corridor.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
That's where really knowing your area um, comes into play. And I mean, for those guys that come out west from back east, they could learn some of these travel corridors within the first 2-3 days of their hunt and narrow things down. And well, if they're open and paying attention, they can learn it. But that's the key. You have to be open and aware and paying attention to those things. And if you can do that, it's just going to make all the difference in the world for the remainder of your hunt, because now you've kind of patterned those elk pretty quick. Of course, then you get into public land, other people, other pressure, all that kind of stuff, and it just kind of, there's a lot of variables in there. So, um, have you been on the course lately within the last week or so?
Yes,
What do you think of the new layout?
I like it.
So,
I like it. It took me a while to figure out how to get in, but that's where I
yeah,
checked with you. 'Cause,
yeah.
like, something changed here. Yeah, I think it was me.
Yeah, it's just a lot of times on that elkcallingacademy.com or courses.elkcallingacademy.com /login. And then sometimes if you don't do that /login, it acts kind of funny. So,
I
um,
didn't have the course dot elk calling. I didn't have the course dot on it.
so if you just had Elk Calling Academy, it was just taking you to the landing page. Yep,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
yep. That's why. So,
That's
um,
where my bubble was stuck.
this past weekend, I uploaded a bunch of videos. I uploaded an about me video that kind of tells, my story. I uploaded intro to calling sequences, intro to the inviting cow routine, intro to breeding sequence, intro to one-on-one. So got a few more filmed and edited and uploaded, and I looked at my Trello board, and I think I'm down to 28, 29 videos that I still have to still have to film and get on there. So
Well, you're in double digits, so that's
Oh,
good. You're
yeah.
down to double digits. Yeah. I see uh, your video about, getting people the invite to join and stuff. I see that more and more. So I don't know if you've increased your exposure or what, but I'm seeing it a lot more.
It's so there was the initial ad campaigns, and then I have some lookalike campaigns and some retargeting campaigns that are running right now, and that's just all on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm getting the Google side of the whole advertising set up now, and then it'll start going on YouTube and Google also. So yes, it's it's interesting. Um, when I first started running the ads, there was some negative Nancy's out there, and it kind of bothered me at first. And but here lately, there was one individual a couple of weeks ago that basically said, your statement that somebody can become an expert elk caller in 30 days is false. You're lying to people. And I'm like, oh, okay, how's that? And he goes, the only way that you really get good at elk hunting is by experience. And I said, now wait a minute. I said, did I say an expert elk hunter in 30 days, or did I say an expert elk caller in 30 days?
Yeah, I heard two things. Yeah.
And he goes, well, he goes, it's just it's experience. And I said, well, it's a good thing that I'm sharing 35 years worth of experience. And he goes, it's one thing to listen to somebody, but it's another to experience yourself. And, when you get out there hunting, you're going to forget about what somebody told you. I said, you know what? I said, you're going to forget about things even if you have 30, 35 years of experience. It happens. You get caught up in the moment. I said, but
Yeah.
again, you're focusing on elk hunting. I said, my statement was elk calling.
Right.
And so we finally, he finally goes, you know what? He goes, you're right. He goes, I just immediately went, when I hear elk calling, I think hunting. And I said, no, I said the course is going to teach, a lot of things on the hunting aspect of it. But you're right. There's going to be experiences. I mean, these people are going to have a much shorter learning curve and going to catch on a lot faster. But the one that cracked me up was last week. The guy basically started going and stating that he can't believe that I am teaching people to run out in the woods and educate the elk. And he goes, "Is this the only way that you can make money? That's pathetic." And I and I responded back to him, and I've kind of changed the way I respond, but I responded back to him, and basically said, the fact that you made the comment about educated elk tells me that you're clueless about elk calling and elk behavior. And he comes back and he goes, I've been doing this far longer than you have. I've been a guide since 1995, and I've seen more adaptation of elk than your tiny pea brain can even fathom. And I'm like, that's great that you've been a guide since 95. I started elk hunting in 1989, so I'm not sure how you think you've been at this longer than I have. I said, and you're right, there has been an adaptation, and that's why, within my course, I teach people to call like elk, not call like humans. I said, but wait, aren't you doing the same thing? You're being paid by people that don't want to put the work in and learn on their own so that they can go out and know what they're doing. And he came back and he's like, it's completely different because I'm controlling the environment. I'm not inviting all these transplants to run around the woods and screw stuff up. And I'm like, wow. I was like, okay, we're gonna agree to disagree. Best of luck to you. And I was talking to Liz about it, and she goes, what's his problem? I said, he's a guide. He's afraid that if I educate every single elk hunter, that nobody's going to want to go hunt with guides.
Oh,
But
that's a
he
good
doesn't.
point. Yeah.
but he doesn't realize that there's a percentage of people that don't want to put the time in. They just want to pay somebody to go do it for them. That does all the calling, that does all the tracking, that does all the scouting, that does the breaking down. That's not who I'm catering to. But I was like, buddy, I can show you examples of so-called educated elk. I mean, I've got a 6 point on the wall that I called in 3, 4 times in one season. I mean, a bull that was called in 3 times over 3 days and shot 3 times. I mean, don't don't give me and don't assume, but no, and it's I don't know. I just got to focus on the amount of positive versus the amount of negatives. There's always going to be somebody, but it's still it's like, wow, why do you got to stop and say something? Why not just if it's not your cup of tea, just move on.
Move on, yeah. No, we have trouble getting not just bulls, but we get cows that will hang up and not come in. Uh, it's just, I think we'll all experience that.
Yeah, it will. I mean, anytime you're out calling, you never know what's going to come in. It could be cows and calves. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been out there calling and just meh, meh, meh. Here comes that little calf just barreling in, and it's yeah, and depending too what sequence you're doing. I mean, some target bulls and some target cows, and that inviting cow routine, it really targets any elk. So, um, oh, I got to check the emails. Larry just messaged. He's like, no live Q&A tonight, and I'm like, we're live right now, bud. Did you not get the email? And he said no. So I gotta check. I gotta switch it over to that Amazon email. Have more consistency with things going through. I'm noticing that with the Google, it's some errors happening. So, but
Forward him the email, see if it'll get to him. He can still log in.
yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. I told Liz I'd only do a 30-minute tonight because it was a shorter topic, and um, I'm tired. This mountain tough is kicking my butt this week. Good Lord. So
Oh, your
the workouts.
exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ramping up, and then because the one we're in right now is just February, March, and then I think in April we start the preseason for April, May, June, July, August, and man, I started looking at some of those workouts, and I was like, there's no rest for the wicked. But I think going into season, it's going to be great. So, well, hard part is we're just doing Monday through Thursday, and then you have the break Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I told her it's going to be a lot better once we get into camping season and we can get in the mountains and do some hiking on the weekends to keep that process going. So, but
Yeah.
all right. Any questions on the reasons why bulls hang up? So,
No, I think those are good, 4 good points.
and this doesn't matter on the age class of bull. So it doesn't matter if it's a young bull, raghorn on up to mature herd bull. Your spikes and your 3x3s and 4x4s, those little guys. Usually those guys, they're just so anxious, they don't hang up for nothing. They just roll right into your lap. And so those are the guys. And sometimes that's the hard part too, like you were talking about with the cows. um I've had those guys roll right into my lap, and I can see the bigger bull in the background coming, and it's like, oh man, I hope this little dude doesn't booger this up. And there's times I will actually let that younger bull get past me so that I can chase them off that direction. Because the last thing I want them to do is wheel and go back with their nose up in the air, which is a defensive posture, and go right by that big bull. Because that older age class bull is going to recognize that and go, something's up. He's done. He's going to turn and go too. But if you let that younger bull come by you, you chase him off the other direction, then you can sit there and do some growls and chuckles and make it appear like you ran that little dude off. Especially if you're doing the breeding sequence, that little dude got too close and you just ran him off from your hot cow. And that adds, it's almost like, okay, great, we got a live decoy now in the middle of our in the middle of our breeding sequence here. So, but we've had those little dudes too just sit back there and circle, and then they start barking, and it's like, oh man. So, but
Yeah.
fun
We
stuff.
use that breeding sequence quite a bit ever since you told us about it.
Oh,
That's
it's my
worked so
favorite
well.
sequence because it's so effective. It works anytime during the year, and especially if you really get into it and really sell it. And that's one of the videos that I'm going to film as soon as we're up camping. Is I'm going to get Brandon with me, and we're going to do the tandem where he and I kind of feed off each other, and then he and I act like two different bulls that are mirroring each other. And man, that is just that's you want to talk about something that takes a quiet forest and lights it up. That thing just is incredible. You can still kind of do the same thing solo, and I'll post a video, like that. But it's not quite as effective trying to do a double bull by yourself as it is if you got two people doing it.
I kind of like that idea. That's something Fritz and I can try.
Yeah. Oh, it's especially, we'll do this sometimes, especially if there's just two of us,
Yeah.
and we'll do it until we get bulls going. And then that second one, whoever the shooter is, will just go quiet and then slip into position. And then at that point, you've built up enough excitement that the one person can just take over. And it's a great way to get those tight lip bulls to start sounding off.
Good idea.
Yep. So.
Good idea. Well,
Well, we'll wrap it
turn
up
in
for
our,
tonight. So thanks for tuning in. As always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, they'll have fun. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. First one for the month of April.
yay,
Okay. Have a good night, Greg.
yay. All
See you.
right. See you, Michael.